We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Hello everybody. So today we will understand about brand equity. So let us begin with the chapter number 10, creating brand equity. Friends, in this particular chapter we will be understanding basically what is the meaning of brand, what is the meaning of brand equity. We will also study one of the most famous model, that is customer based brand equity, CBB model, and later on we will be understanding what are the various branding strategies which are adopted by various companies. Now before we start the chapter, let me give you the brief summary that what is the importance of brand equity for the marketers. So one of the most valuable intangible assets for a particular firm is its brand equity, and building a strong brand equity, it is both, it is art as well as it is science, and it requires a careful planning, it requires a long term commitment, a creatively designed and executing marketing programs. And if the company is able to successfully build this brand equity, then it will also be able to generate consumer loyalty, and consumer loyalty is very important for every company, and it is the heart for every company to generate more and more revenue. So hence every company must focus on creating a superior brand equity. So before understanding brand equity, let us first understand what is the meaning of brand. So according to American Marketing Association, brand is defined as a name, term, sign, symbol or design or a combination of them intended to identify the goods or services of one seller or group of sellers and to differentiate them from those of competitors. So this is the definition of brand, that whenever the company is assigning any sort of name or the company is using any kind of cartoon characters or mascots or the jingles or logo, all the activities which the company is doing for creating some sort of identification of a particular product which belongs to a company, that is referred as branding. So here we have Amul as a brand. So the name Amul is one component of brand. Then this cartoon character which is used, that is the name of, that is the component of the brand, the designing and the logo. So all this is referred as the brand elements. A brand is hence a product or service whose dimensions differentiate it in some way from other products or services which are designed to satisfy the same need of a customer. So a brand may be different, one particular brand may be different from the another brand on the basis of the functions or features or rationals or some of the characteristics which may be tangible or even on the basis of intangible elements. So this is how a brand can differentiate itself from the others. Then we have the role of brands, or we can say what is the importance of brands. The first one is identify the source or maker of the product. So if the company is assigning different brand names to the various products, so with the help of that a customer can identify that who is the source or who is the maker of the product. So that way the company, the customer can identify that who is the manufacturer of a particular brand. Then differentiation, the company can differentiate its various brands on the basis of various features, characteristics, or by assigning a different brand name. So it performs the role of differentiation, and a customer can also evaluate the identical product differently depending on the brand name. So it is not only helpful for the company to differentiate, but also for the customer the differentiation can be done. Then product handling is simplified for the company. So because the company is assigning different brand names to different products, so it becomes very easy for the companies to handle the product, and brands help to organize the inventory and accounting records. A brand also offers the firm legal protection for unique features or aspects of the product. Then the brand name can be protected through the registered trademarks. Then the manufacturing process can be protected through the various patents, and packaging can be protected through the copyrights and proprietary designs. So this way the company can have a legal protection of the brands. Then the last role of brands is brand loyalty provides security of the demand. So if the consumers are loyal towards a particular brand, then in that situation it creates a security of the same level of demand even in future. So this was all about the importance or the role of brands. Then we have branding. Branding is nothing but all the activities which are done to create a brand, that is referred as branding. So branding is endowing the products and services with the power of brand. So it is the marketing practice in which the company creates a name, a symbol or design that is easily identifiable as belonging to the company. So all the activities which the company is doing to build a superior brand, that is referred as branding. It is all about creating the differences between the products, and marketers even they need to teach to the consumer that who the product is by assigning it the name and by assigning various brand elements, and also that what the product is doing, what are the benefits it is providing with the help of marketing activities. So this way branding creates a mental structure which helps the consumers to gain more and more knowledge about the products and services, and also help the customers in the decision making process. So this was all about brand and branding. So here we have brand equity. So the definition says that brand equity is the added value endowed on the products and services. So brand equity is nothing but whatever value a customer assigns towards a particular brand, that is referred as brand equity. So it may be reflected in the way the consumers think, they feel and they act with respect to the brand. So if the customers think positively towards a particular brand, if they have a positive feeling, and if they think of purchasing the same brand again and again, then it can be said that that particular brand is having a good brand equity. It's also reflected from the prices, the market share and profitability the brand commands from the firm. If I talk about brand equity in the simple language, it describes a brand's value, and this value is determined by the consumer's perception of that particular brand and what kind of experience they are having with that brand. So if the customers perceive positively about the brand and their experience after using the brand is positive, then it can be said that that particular brand is enjoying a good brand equity into the mind of the customers. If people think highly of a brand, it has a positive brand equity, and if people do not think of that particular brand, then it can be said that it is having a negative brand equity, and the company should make some sort of efforts to increase the brand equity positively into the mind of the customers. Companies can also charge more for a product with a great deal of brand equity, and even the customers are also ready to pay higher price for the brands which are having a good brand equity. Then the company can create the brand equity for their brands by making them more memorable, by easily recognizable, and creating a superior quality, and making a brand more reliable. So if these attributes are there, then the company can create a good brand equity into the minds of the customers. And in very simpler terms, brand equity is the perceived worth of a brand. So whatever worth the customer is having towards a particular brand, that is referred as brand equity. In short, it is a social value of a particular brand. Some of the companies which are enjoying a good brand equity into the minds of the customers are like Apple, Nike, Google, Sony, Coca-Cola, Tata, Reliance, Patanjali. So all these are the companies which are really having a good brand equity into the mind of the customers, and it has taken lot of efforts and very longer period of time to establish this brand equity into the mind of the customers. So the power of a brand lies in what customers have seen, what they have read, what they have heard, learned, thought and felt about the brand over a period of time. Then we have another concept of customer based brand equity, that is also abbreviated as CBBE. So customer based brand equity is a differential effect brand knowledge has on consumer response to the marketing of that brand. So a brand has a positive customer based brand equity when the consumers react more favorably to a product and the way it is marketed when the brand is identified, and a brand has a negative customer based brand equity if the consumers react less favorably to marketing activity for the brand under the same situation. So if the customer looks towards a particular advertisement campaign positively, if the customer like that advertisement, and if the customer think of the same brand while deciding to purchase any particular product category, then in this kind of situations we can say that that particular brand is having a good customer based brand equity into the mind of the customer. But say for instance, if the customer thinks negatively because of the past experience, or because of some negative association, or because the customer dislikes that marketing effort, then in that situation we can say that the customer based brand equity is negative. Then there are certain important things to be remembered in customer based brand equity, that brand equity arises from the differences in consumer response, and depending on the consumer and depending on their perception, the same brand can have a difference into the effects, or the same brand can have different brand equity. Some might be positive and some might be negative, because it is totally based on the perception of the customer. Then the differences in the response are the result of the consumer's brand knowledge and all their thoughts, feelings or images, experiences, and whatever beliefs are associated with the brand. So the main task of the marketer is to create a strong, favorable and unique brand association into the mind of the customers. Like Toyota is having a very strong and favorable association of reliability, then Amazon is having a strong brand association of convenience, Apple is having an association of design, then Tata is having the association of trust. So if the company is successful in building a strong brand association, unique brand association, then also it can have a positive brand equity into the mind of the customers. And brand equity is reflected in perceptions, preferences, and the behavior related to all the aspects of the marketing of a particular brand. So this was all about customer based brand equity. So here we have the marketing advantages of strong brands, or also we can say that these are the benefits of strong brand equity. The first one is improved perception of product performance. If a particular brand is having a superior or positive customer based brand equity, then the perception towards that particular brand would be improved day by day, and the customer will perceive it more and more favorably, because of which the purchase will increase. And if the purchase increases, then we can say that the same customer will be loyal towards that particular brand, and because of which the profitability and revenue can increase. So these are all the subsequent advantages of having a improved perception of product performance. The second is greater loyalty. So if the perception towards a brand is positive, then definitely the probability of purchasing the same brand over a period of time increases, because of which there would be more and more loyalty towards a particular brand. The third is less vulnerable to competitive marketing actions. If the brand is successful in creating a superior brand equity into the mind of the customer, then the possibility of being attacked by the competitors is very less, because the competitors will also realize that it is very difficult to match the opponent, because it is able to stand strong into the minds of the customers. Then we have larger margins, return and profit. So definitely if the perception is positive, the purchase is more, loyalty is more, then the marketer will be able to earn larger margin, generate more return on investment, and enjoy a good profitability into the market. Then more inelastic consumer response to price increases. So here because the brand is having a strong customer based brand equity, and it is providing a quality product, and if it is having a sufficient base of customers who are highly loyal, then in that kind of situation, even if the company is increasing the price due to any marketing situation, or due to the increase in the price of the raw material, or due to the competition, then although the price increases, but still the sufficient number of customers will be purchasing the same brand again and again. So that is why we can say that the consumer response might be inelastic although the company increases the price. At the same time, if the company decreases the price, maybe because of some factors into the macro environment, or because of the government rules and regulations, or because of the competition, then there is always a possibility that the competitors these customers may switch on to that particular brand. So here in this situation, the consumer response may increase and the purchase may increase when the price decreases. Then because the company is having a good brand equity, then the traders or I can say the retailers and agents and brokers, they would provide more good cooperation and support to the manufacturers, because they would like to carry these kinds of brands who are having a good or superior brand equity into the market. Then increased marketing communication effectiveness, because the customers perceive these brands positively, so that is why the impact of all the marketing activities is also positive. Then possible licensing opportunities, because the company is having a good reputation, good brand equity, then there would always be an opportunity for other companies to ask for licensing opportunities, or if it is into service sector, then to go for franchising concept. Then the company can always go for brand extension. That means the company can add new products, or the company can extend into a different product category, because it is already enjoying a good brand equity. And if one brand is having a superior brand image or superior equity, then it will have the same effect on the other brand which is extended. Then improved employee recruiting and retention. So because the company is having a strong reputation into the market, so it will be able to attract good you can say employees, and the employees who are already working there, the company would try to retain them by different types of human resource activities. So these all are the points covered under the benefits of brand equity. We have the brand resonance pyramid, which is also referred as customer based brand equity model, that is CBB model. Now CBB model has been devised by the professor of marketing Kevin Len Keller, and both are the same, whether you say brand resonance pyramid or CBB model, it's one and the same. This model shows how to build brand equity by understanding the customers and accordingly framing the strategies in order to build a superior brand equity. Furthermore, if there is a connection between the brand and the consumer, it results in the positive brand equity and has a better chance of acquiring and sustaining the customers over a period of time, which gives a huge advantage to the companies, particularly for those brands which are able to build a strong brand equity into the market. And this model explains that what are the series of steps which a company must take in order to build a strong brand. So the brand resonance model views brand building as a series of steps from bottom to top, and the series of steps are, the first one is ensuring the customers identification of the brand with a specific product class or customer need. The next step after fulfilling the first one, the next step is firms establish brand meaning in customers mind by linking with strong brand association in a very firm manner. So the company should establish the meaning of the brand in the mind of the customers by connecting it with different associations. And after the second step, the third is eliciting the customer response in terms of judgment and feelings. And the fourth step is converting the customer's brand response to intense active loyalty or to build a good relationship between the brand and the customer. So this sequence of steps we'll be studying in detail in the next slide with the help of the pyramid. So here we have the customer based brand equity, that is a CBB model. This entire CBB model comprises of three things. On one side, left hand side, we have the stages of brand development. On right hand side, we have the objectives at each stage, and in the middle we have the pyramid which is referred as brand building blocks, which comprises of 6 different blocks. So the 4 steps of the pyramid represent the 4 fundamental questions which the customers ask often subconsciously about the brand. And those 4 questions we can see at the stages of the brand development, that who are you? You is the brand. Who is the brand? The second question could be what is the brand? That means understanding more in a much more detailed manner. The third question could be what about you? That is the response part. And the fourth one is what about you and me, that is what is the connection between the brand and the customer. So these are the 4 questions which come across the mind of the customers, but in a subconscious manner. The customer may not be aware of this question, but definitely it comes into their mind. Then these 4 steps contain the 6 building blocks that must be in place for the company in order to reach the top of the pyramid and to develop the successful brand. So at every stage the company is having different objectives, like at identity the objective is deep brand awareness, and in order to build a strong brand the company should focus on these 6 building blocks at each and every stage. So now we will understand each and every stage along with the brand building blocks. So the first stage of brand development was, as we studied in the earlier slide, ensuring customers identify the brand and associate it with a specific product class or need. So step number 1 is to create identity. Who are you? That means to make the customers understand about the identification or what the brand is. So at step number 1, identity, you can see on the right hand side the objective is to build deep broad brand awareness. So here the company should make lot of efforts behind creating lot of awareness into the mind of the customers, because if the customer is not aware of the brand, then the other steps like purchase and all those things may not happen. So step number 1, that is identification, can be fulfilled with the help of the first building block, which you can see at the bottom, salience. So brand salience is how often and how easily the customers think of the brand under various purchase or different consumption situations. So the foundation of the pyramid is the salience part, which represents that how aware the people are about the existence of the brand. So here the company should provide a clear identification about the brand with the help of different marketing activities, and the company should also do the R&D to identify that what are the needs and wants of the customers, who is the target market, what is the decision making process they are taking, then doing the segmentation properly. So this way the company can identify the needs of the target audience properly, and thereby they can create the identification or awareness into the mind of the customers with the help of brand salience. The second step or stage of brand development is meaning. Fine. So here the firms firmly establish the brand meaning in customers mind by linking with the help of different tangible and intangible brand association. So at second stage meaning, that is what are you, the question is into the mind of the customer. The objective at this particular stage is to create strong, favorable, unique brand association into the mind of the customers, and to focus on POP and POD, that is point of parity and point of difference. So this can be established by the 2 building blocks at this particular stage, brand performance and brand imagery. So at step number 2, basically the customer wants is aware about the particular brand, and the customer is more interested and wants to know more in detail about the features, characteristic, durability and all those things. So this can be fulfilled with the help of 2 building blocks, that is performance and imagery. So talking about the brand performance, so brand performance is how well the product or service meets the customer's functional needs. So here we are talking about the functionality of a particular brand. So under brand performance, the company can focus on the product features, on the product reliability, on the customer service, the style and design, then the pricing of the product, and this way the company can try to meet the customer's functional needs. Fine. Which is also comes into the category of rational route. Here you can see in the building block on the left hand side we have rational route. Then we have brand imagery. Brand imagery describes that the extrinsic properties of the product or service, including the ways in which the brand attempts to meet the customer's psychological or social needs. So here we are not talking about the functional need, but we are talking about the psychological or social needs. So many times the customers are not purchasing the product only because of the functional need, but also they are purchasing the product because of the social needs. So that thing should also be considered by the marketers. So under brand imagery, majority of the times the question is that what is the image of the brand in the eyes of the customer, or how do the customers perceive the brand. Fine. Like the customers who are purchasing BMW, then they feel that whether their need of having the status symbol product, whether it is satisfied or not. And apart from that, the customers are also thinking that what is the brand personality, whether the brand personality is matching with their own personality or not. Then they are asking that who are the users of that particular brand. So brand imagery is what the people think when they see that you are using that particular brand. It is how happy they would be by getting associated with that particular brand. So it is totally, you can see, the social or psychological part of the brand. So that is covered under the brand imagery. So this way brand performance helps to create tangible association, and brand imagery helps to create intangible brand association. The third stage is response, that is what about you, or what are the feelings the customer is having towards a particular brand. Here the main objective at this particular stage is the customer should have a positive accessible reaction towards a particular brand. So once the customer purchases a brand, he builds up a set of expectations towards that brand which comes before purchasing. And there are different ways that how the expectations are built, maybe because of the advertising, or because of past experience, or word of mouth. So after the customer has purchased the brand, and if the expectations matches with the performance of that particular brand, then the customer is satisfied, the customer is happy, and he spreads a positive word of mouth, and even will go for the repeat purchase. So this way the customer is having a positive feelings towards that particular brand. If the expectations and performance do not match with each other, then in that situation, like if the customer is having higher expectation and the performance falls below that, then the customer will have a negative experience, and the customer will have negative feelings towards that particular brand. So this way the response falls into two different categories: brand judgment and brand feelings. So this brand judgment and brand feelings are the two building blocks of the CBB model. Talking about brand judgment, it focuses on the customer's own personal opinions and evaluation. So here, after purchasing the brand, the customer makes a judgment on the basis of various attributes like quality, credibility, superiority, durability, service. So if the customer is satisfied, then the judgment or the opinion would be positive, and if the customer is not satisfied, then the judgment can be negative also. And the next one is brand feelings. Brand feelings are the customer's emotional responses and reactions with respect to the brand. If the customer is satisfied with the brand, then the customer will have some sort of positive brand feelings like fun, excitement, security, social approval, self-respect, and the customer will have liking towards that particular brand. But if the customer is dissatisfied, then the same feelings can be negative. So the main goal of the marketer should be to create the positive feeling, to evoke the positive feeling into the mind of the customers, and to form a particular brand in such a way that the opinion or the reaction of the customer is positive towards that particular brand. So here in this model, or in this brand building block, the two blocks, that is brand performance and brand judgment, they fall into the category of rational root, and brand imagery and brand feelings, they fall into the emotional root, because that is done on the basis of emotions, and brand judgment and brand performance is totally based on the logical calculations. The fourth stage of brand development is relationships, which asks the question of what about you and me, that is what is the connection between the brand and the customer. Here at this particular stage of brand development, the objective of the organization is to create intense active loyalty between the brand and the customer. So here we have the building block of brand resonance. So brand resonance describes the relationship the customers have with the brand, and the extent to which they feel that they are in connection with, or they are in sync with that particular brand. So brand resonance is at the top position of the brand equity, and it is in fact very difficult to achieve it, and at the same time it is most desirable also. Companies are able to achieve this brand resonance when the customer, they feel that they are having a deep connection with the brand, and they are having a psychological bonding with the brand. Brand resonance can be seen high in the following situations, like when the customers show behavioral loyalty. loyalty, which refers to the repeat purchase of the same brand again and again in spite of all the different marketing situations, or if the customers are having a positive attitude or they love the brand, which is referred as attitudinal loyalty. And if the customers show active engagement towards that particular brand by participating into different online chats or blogs or participating into various events, following the brand on social media platform. So this way the company should strengthen the brand resonance by focusing on the loyalty programs, by rewarding the different customers, by organizing various events and activities so that the customers are engaged with that brand. So resonance is the intensity of the customer's psychological bond with the brand and the level of activities it is organizing for keeping the customers engaged. So this is how, with the help of this CBB model, the company is able to develop a strong brand equity. Are the 6 building blocks we have discussed in the CBB model: brand salience, brand performance, brand imagery, brand judgment, brand feelings, and brand resonance. Brand salience is the building block at stage number 1 of identity. Brand performance and brand imagery are the building blocks at the stage of establishing meaning. Brand judgment and brand feelings are the building blocks at the 3rd stage of response, and brand resonance is the building block of the 4th stage of relationships. So if the company is placing these 6 building blocks in a proper place, in a proper manner, then it will be helpful to develop a successful brand. The next part of the chapter is devising a brand strategy. A firm's brand strategy, it reflects the number and nature of both common as well as different brand elements which are associated with the various products of a particular company. Branding strategy is also referred as brand architecture. So brand architecture refers to the various ways in which the brands within company's portfolio are related to and differentiated from one another. In simple terms, it is a structure of brands within an organization, and here in branding strategy, the company decides that how to brand new products, especially when the company is entering into the new product, or might be possible that within the same product category the company is adding new flavors. So what type of strategies the company should adopt? So normally a firm has 3 main choices. The first one is it can develop new brand elements for the new product. By brand elements, I mean the brand name, logo, slogan, jingle, characters, or packaging. The second choice which the company has is it can apply some of its existing brand elements, and the third choice is it can use a combination of new as well as the existing brand elements. Majority of the times, either the company is assigning the new brand elements or it is using a combination of new as well as existing. So here we will understand in detail the various strategies. The first one is brand extension. So when a firm uses an established brand to introduce a new product, that is referred as brand extension. The use of established brand to introduce a new product, that is referred as brand extension. Like the example I will give you, that Google has done the extension from search engine to having Google Mail, Google Wallet, Google Pay, Google Maps, Google Analytics, Google Plus. So this is an example of brand extension. Another example of Amul milk, Amul butter, Amul cheese, Amul yogurt, flavored milk, Amul powdered milk, Amul ice cream. So this way, when a brand is entering from one product to the another product category, or within the product category, even if it is adding new flavors or it is coming up into different sizes, then all these are the examples of brand extension. Dettol has done brand extension from antiseptic liquid to bath soap, then Dettol antiseptic cream, then Dettol liquid hand wash, sanitizer, Dettol shaving cream, Dettol pain relief spray. So all these are the examples of brand extension. The brand extension is the use of an established brand name for a new product or a new product category. So this is a very useful strategy wherein the company can diversify its offerings with the help of the brand extension. And if the company is able to do in a very successful manner, in that kind of situation, the company will be able to generate more and more profit, and which will lead to the increase in the market share. Then the another strategy is sub brand. So when the marketer combines a new brand with an existing brand, then that type of brand extension is called as sub brand. So here we have the example of sub brand like Nestle KitKat. So combining a new brand with an existing brand. So in the example of Nestle KitKat, Nestle is an existing brand and KitKat is a new brand. So KitKat has been combined with Nestle, so that is why Nestle KitKat is a sub brand. Sony Vaio, it is a sub brand. Sony is doing sub branding with other products as well, like we have Sony Xperia, Sony Bravia, Sony Music, Sony Pictures. So this is an example of sub brand. Tata Nano. So all these comes under the category of sub branding. Then we have parent brand. Parent brand is nothing but when the company, the existing brand that gives birth to a brand extension or the sub brand, that is referred as parent brand. So parent brand in the earlier example like Nestle KitKat, so Nestle is the parent brand because Nestle has given you can say birth to KitKat. Then Sony Vaio, here we have the parent brand of Sony. Then in Tata Nano, Tata is the parent brand. Similarly in the earlier examples of Google, like Google is into Google Wallet, Google Pay, Google Maps. So here Google is the parent brand. In the example of Amul, Amul milk, Amul butter, Amul cheese, Amul is the parent brand. So this is all about the parent brand. If the parent brand is already associated with multiple products through brand extensions, it can also be called as a master brand or family brand. Like Amul is into different product categories, so that is why Amul can be referred as master brand or a family brand. Further, brand extension falls into two general categories. The first one is line extension and the second one is category extension. So line extension and category extension both are the types of brand extension. Talking about line extension, here the parent brand covers a new product within a product category it currently serves. So here the parent brand covers the product within a product category by adding new flavors, forms, colors, package size. So this way, when the company is doing some sort of variation in the existing product category or product line, that is referred as line extension. Say for example, like if I talk about Dove shampoo, then Dove shampoo is offering various types of shampoos for different types of hairs. Similarly, Sunsilk shampoo, we have Sunsilk Black Shine, then Sunsilk Nourishing Soft and Smooth, then we have Sunsilk for thick and long hair, Sunsilk for dandruff. So within the shampoo category there are different types of you can say variations which are there, that is referred as line extension. Then this way the line extension can be done by different forms, like Volini spray is also available and gel is also available. Colgate toothpaste is also there and tooth powder is also there. And when the company is making different package size available to the customers within the product category, then that is also referred as line extension. The other type of brand extension is category extension. So in category extension, the marketers use the parent brand to enter a different product category. So here the companies are trying to enter into new product category from the one it is currently serving, that is referred as category extension. Like some of the examples I'll give you here, that Dove has done the category extension by moving from soap category to we have Dove shampoo, then Dove deodorant and Dove body wash. So when the company is moving into different product categories, that is referred as category extension. Adidas it was into brand of shoes and it later came into clothing, into accessories, into sportswear. So shoes is one product category, clothing is another product category, accessories is the another one, and sportswear is the another one. So this way when the company is entering into various product categories, that is referred as category extension. Titan from watches to jewelry to eyewear and then to leather products. So this is also an example of category extension. Moving ahead, here you can see the various other examples of line extension strategies. So as I said, that line extension also refers to when the company is doing the variation in terms of product size, in terms of color, flavors, ingredients, form, this way. So here talking about the first example into product sizes, Bisleri, that bottled water, it is available into different size, 1.1 liter, 0.5 liter, 1.2 liter, 1.5, this way. So that is an example of line extension. Then we have the example of Pantene, that Pantene shampoo which is available into white, black, pink color. So that is another form of line extension. Then Rasna, which is available into different flavors like orange, mango, rose, that is also another example of line extension. Then Colgate gel is there, Colgate herbal, Colgate salt. So this way, when the company is differentiating the same product category by adding different ingredients, that is also the part of line extension. Then talk about the form. I already gave you the example of Colgate, like toothpaste and tooth powder is available, Volini spray and gel is available. Here we have Vim bar, and then the another form is Vim liquid, and the another form is Vim powder. So the function is the same, but the form is different. Then we have Sunsilk. So all these are the examples of line extension strategies. Branding decisions. So here we have the alternative branding strategies. Assuming that a firm decides to brand its products or services, then these are the different choices which the company has for branding the different products which it is launching. So the three choices or the options which the company has is giving individual names, the second is blanket family name, and the third one is sub branding. So talking about the first one, individual names or separate family brand names. So here the company assigns different brand names to all the different products which the company is launching. So majority of the time, the FMCG companies which are having wide range of products, they are assigning different names to all the products which they are having under them. Like HUL, the different brands under HUL are Dove, Ponds, Lux, Sunsilk, Kisan, Rin, Rexona, Surf Excel, Lifebuoy, Fair and Lovely. So for all the different types of products across various categories, it is giving different brand names. So that is an example of individual names or separate family brand names. Similarly, P&G, Procter & Gamble, ITC, they are all these companies are giving individual names to different products across various categories. The second is blanket family name, which is also referred as corporate umbrella or company brand name. So when the company is assigning or using the corporate name across a wide range of the products, that is referred as corporate umbrella or blanket family name. So the corporate name is associated with all the different product categories. So then a company is assigning its own name along the various product categories which it is having. Like talking about Tata, so in all the majority of the products it is having Tata name. So Tata Tea, Tata Salt, or Tata Consultancy Services, Tata Water Plus, Tata Mutual Fund. So everywhere you can find the name of Tata. So this is an example of corporate umbrella. Similarly, Dabur, Sony, LG, all these are following this blanket family name or corporate umbrella or company brand name strategy. The third one is sub brand, which is also referred as corporate name combined with the individual product name. So here the company is having two names. One is the parent brand or the corporate name, and the company is using the another brand name for the new product category. So here we have Nestle KitKat. So Nestle is the name of the corporate and KitKat is the name which is assigned to the new product category. Similarly, Cadbury Dairy Milk, Sunfeast, Yippee. So when the company is combining two names, that is referred as sub brand or corporate name combined. Talking about the first one, individual names. So in the individual or separate family brand name, the major advantage of this particular strategy is that if a particular product fails or appears to be of low quality, then it will not have the impact on the entire reputation of the organization. So that is why the company uses different brand names for different product lines. Then in the second one, in the corporate umbrella, because the company is using the name of the corporate itself, that is why the cost of development is you can say less, and the company may not spend too much of amount of money for doing the R&D or identifying the right name for the recognition of the brand. So corporate image, associations of innovativeness, expertise, trustworthiness, so all these are having the direct influence on the consumer evaluation when the corporate name is assigned in the different product categories. And in sub brand name, because the name of the company is also associated, that is why the recognition is easy. So this was about the branding decisions or alternative branding strategies, the options which the company is having to brand various products under it. Co-branding and ingredient branding. So first we will discuss what is co-branding. Co-branding is also referred as dual branding or brand bundling. So when two or more well-known brands are combined into a joint product or they are marketed together, that is referred as co-branding. There are three different types of co-branding. The first one is same company co-branding, the second one is joint venture co-branding, and the third one is retail co-branding. Talking about the first one, same company co-branding. So when the two different products of the same company they are bundled together or they are marketed together, that is referred as same company co-branding. Like example, Colgate toothbrush and toothpaste, when they are bundled together and made available to the customer, that is referred as same company co-branding. The another example is Gillette shaving system available along with the shaving gel, so these two products are bundled together. The third example, Himalaya soap and powder, they are bundled together. Then the next example is Dove soap and shampoo bundled together. So all these are the examples of same company co-branding. The another type of co-branding is joint venture co-branding. Under joint venture co-branding, the two different companies, they come together and they do the joint promotion and marketing activity. So some of the example of joint venture co-branding is like here you can see in the slide that Whirlpool washing machine, it is also promoting the Ariel detergent. The next example is Lenovo laptop and Tata Docomo or dongle, they are doing the joint promotion. Then Uber and Spotify, which is a music app, they are doing the joint promotion. Then Ola and OnePlus, they had done joint promotion. Furthermore examples, Uber partnered with Airtel, they had done joint promotion. Paytm was offering free Uber rides. Then iPhone had the joint co-branding with Airtel and as well as Vodafone. Then another example here in the slide is Snapdeal offering 5% discount on HDFC debit cards. So all these are the examples of joint venture co-branding. Two different companies, they come together for joint promotion and marketing. The third one is retail co-branding. Here the two retail establishment use the same location or the premises to optimize the space and the profit, which is a win-win situation for both the retailers. Like the example of Sales India and Bajaj Finance, both are sharing the same premises wherein the target market is the same although the products are different. Then Crossword and CCD, or petrol pumps and ATMs. So these are the examples of retail co-branding. Hence, this way co-branding can generate greater sales from the existing market and open the opportunities for the new consumers and channels. It can also reduce the cost of marketing and advertisement, because one product is jointly marketed with the another, so that's why the cost of advertising of the another brand reduces. The another disadvantage of this co-branding is that if one product is giving unsatisfactory performance, then it can have a negative effect on the other brand which is having a good performance. So for co-branding to succeed, both the brands must separately have a good brand equity into the market. Adequate brand awareness should be there of both the brands, and both the brands should have a positive brand image, then it will be quite successful. Now the another concept is ingredient branding. Now ingredient branding is a special case of co-branding. It creates a brand equity for the materials, components or the parts that are necessarily contained within other branded products. So in marketing, ingredient branding is creating a brand for an ingredient or the component of the product to project the high quality or the performance of the ingredient. So in this kind of ingredient branding, generally the component or the ingredient is focused during the advertisement. So some of the examples of ingredient branding here is like music system, they are advertised with Dolby noise reduction. So Dolby noise reduction is a technology which is used, so that is highlighted. Then Head and Shoulders with ZPTO. So ZPTO is a chemical which is used to remove the dandruff, so that ingredient is focused. Then Teflon coating in pens. So Teflon is one type of ingredient which is used in pens. And Lay's potato chips. So potato is the ingredient which is advertised during the marketing. Another examples is like Patanjali atta noodles. So that atta is the ingredient of which that Patanjali noodles is made up of. Then Pantene Pro V is another ingredient. Then Kent water purifier with mineral RO technology, so that mineral RO technology is the ingredient. So this way the companies are focusing on the ingredients or the components of which the brand is made up of. Requirements for successful ingredient branding. First of all, the consumers must believe that the ingredient matters to the performance and the success of the end product. Secondly, the customers must be convinced that not all the ingredient brands are the same and that ingredient is superior. Only then they will be purchasing that particular brand. And consumers must understand the advantage of the branded ingredient, and even the marketers should take some sort of communication activities to make them understand. So all these points will lead to the successful ingredient branding. So here we complete